Hey guys, it's Dee. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to share what my fibromyalgia flares feel like. Now, I've already created a video already about my story on this, so I'll leave a link up or a card. So if you're interested about my diagnosis story, it's there. But for those of you who are new here, I am Dee. I have rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, and POTS. And so I already made a video on my flares for rheumatoid arthritis and what those would look like. Now let's go over to the fibro side of things, because that was the second condition we found out I had. Okay, so my fibro flares, the last one was kind of similar to around the time my last RA flare was, which was about September-ish of last year, 2020. So it's been some time, but I can remember those a lot more vividly because those are more painful. They didn't happen as often, or as like the flare wasn't as long as like my rheumatoid arthritis ones, but ooh, to me, those were some painful times. Okay. So let's see, all of the things that I had, because I had to write a list because it was that many. Let's see, I had, okay, so in terms of like body parts affected, fibromyalgia tends to be more widespread. So you have pain basically generally just about everywhere. The worst parts for me though was my like the spinal area, not my entire back, but like the muscles that are like right by the spine and the shoulder blades in the back, my muscles up here, like by the shoulders. And if it was that time of the month, periods were extremely painful. I mean, like you could take all the stuff in the world, it ain't doing nothing. You are basically bedbound, like that bad. Yeah. So those muscle spasms and those muscle cramps were, oh my God, that is to this day, that is the, I'm going to say the third. I'm going to say the third most painful thing that I've gone through. Yeah, third or second. Most painful thing for me was getting an IUD inserted. I've never had kids, so, you know. But yeah, those are no joke. Those muscle spasms. Like I ended up taking like muscle relaxers when those got really, really bad. Just so I could function. Because at the time I was working like a more traditional kind of nursing job. So like I was like, you can't take off a whole lot, you kind of have to grin and bear it. So my worst painful parts would mainly be that. But a close second would be like the finger pads. So like the finger pads and sometimes the palm, I would get nerve pain. And while I did get nerve pain with my RA flares, this one was different. This one was that kind of, it was a combination of a burn, like a burn that's like right below the skin with a super strong itch to it. And it's like, it's such a strong itch, like you want to scratch it, but you're not getting it because it's all like under the skin and nothing makes it better. The only thing that seemed to take some of the discomfort off was to just rub my hands together very slowly, because if I did it too fast, then that would make it worse too. So I don't really know how to describe that kind of nerve pain, or maybe it's like just sensory overload on the nerves. I don't know, but it's literally like just on the like palm side. Like it's not like going along the finger, it's not on the back, it's literally like just here. That was very uncomfortable. Not as bad as the spasms though. Oh my God. The spasms are the worst pain for me. Well, sometimes it is the most painful actually, because the nerve pain, from the RA, I think is the worst. But in terms of fibromyalgia, that muscle pain is pretty bad. Fatigue for me was way worse with fibro than it was with rheumatoid arthritis. And here's how. So for me, when I had just RA by itself, I was pretty tired. And I had to fight to not fall asleep at the wheel. That said, I did not have migraines with it. We found out that I had fibro after I went to the ER because I had vision changes and I had hearing issues and stuff. Come to find out, I had migraine with aura for the first time. And it got to the point where it was every day. If I was just awake for too long, I could be sitting here all day in a chair. And if I was awake for too long, which typically meant more than like 3 or 4 hours at a time, I would not feel good. I would feel like sick to my stomach, nauseous, everything. I would start to have these painful, like, those nerve sensations I was telling you. It would be more constant than on and off, like it would last for longer periods of time during a flare. And my migraines would be so bad, nothing worked. No amount of medication did anything. The only thing that helped was sleep. And then it's hard to go to sleep because of all the pain, And then, of course, like I said in my previous video, if you have more than one chronic condition, one flare typically will go and trigger the other. So then it will go and trigger my RA stuff, or it would make my POTS worse. It was a mess. But with the fatigue and fibromyalgia, it was more severe, not only because of the migraines, but I literally, like, when I say I fell asleep at the wheel, I mean, like, it was so hard not to fall asleep at the wheel just to drive 10 minutes to work and back. It didn't matter if I rested before I went or not. Like, after like a certain amount of time early in the morning, it was just like, it's a wrap. My body was just like, you need to go sit down somewhere. And that actually was what partially got me sick enough where I had to leave like my traditional nursing job. And I already made a video about that somewhere as well. I will put a card up. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh yeah, the costochondritis. So for those of you who are not familiar with the term costochondritis, it is basically something where, like, if you do anything, whether it is a full-blown workout or you just get up and go and do chores and then go lay down, if you basically are working your body to do something and you don't have any gas in that tank, because I like to describe fibromyalgia, same with chronic fatigue syndrome, as we operate on a diluted gas tank. So it don't take nearly as much for us to go from an F to an E on the gas tank aspect. And if you try and work, whether it is physically going and doing chores or going to work or doing a workout, you get what's called costochondritis. So I would have chest pain. Wasn't cardiac related, but I would have chest pain. I would feel sicker as a dog, fight the urge to throw up even with water. I would have a severe migraine where even sleep was not helping. Like, I would be basically out for the count for several days, plural, every time. It took about 3-ish days on average just for me to be able to halfway function. And that's just from it, like I said, whether it was I should have laid down and I went and cleaned the house, or I stayed awake for too long, or I went to work when I needed to have my hours adjusted. So not a fun feeling. Your muscles hurt, your muscles are sore. Like, basically it's like a mini flare within the flare. So like if a needle could have like a sharp edge on top of the sharp edge, like it's like that. And it is just very uncomfortable. It's one of the reasons why it's very hard, to be honest, when you have fibromyalgia. Sometimes it's hard to stay, active, because one of the things that helps is exercise. Well, if you don't know your limits and your body's not getting the rest it needs, you can get yourself hurt or sick, if you don't give your body what it needs. But it was just really it was a foggy time. I have brain fog from both the RA and the fibromyalgia, but it's a lot worse, I've noticed, with the fibromyalgia, because now I'm at a point where, like, at first I could just write down what I needed to do for the day. Like if I had to go somewhere, an appointment, it got to the point where that wasn't enough. Then I had to go and start putting it in my phone. Okay, that wasn't enough. I had to start putting in alarms. Yeah. But I was very foggy, especially with the fibromyalgia. It was just a mess. And then I started having heart palpitations too. Now we found out that actually might have been more related to POTS, but since it is a symptom of fibromyalgia, I just threw it in there because, to be honest, I don't really know which one it is. Sometimes you got so much going on, you don't even know what condition's causing it. You're just like, oh, it's one of them too, you know. But that about wraps up my fibromyalgia flares and what those feel like. Like I said, it would be for a much shorter period of time. Like it depends on what the cause was. Like if I physically overexerted myself, then it could take upwards of a week and a lot of sleep. I mean, like 12 plus hours per night of sleep for several days to recover. And then sometimes it would be just as short as just, okay, I need a day to recover. It's problem is when you're trying to work, that kind of becomes a problem trying to maintain a full-time job and you feel your body is like basically crashing after half a shift and you have to go back to work the next day. It's, yeah. Anyway, so that was what those flares felt like before. Like I said, it's been a while since I have had me a flare. My last one was back in September. So now I don't really have those issues. I do still have from time to time really sharp cramps when it's that time of the month. But other than that, I'm not having muscle cramps on the regular like I was. I'm not having migraines unless I'm doing one of those like all dayers where I'm going from here to there to everywhere, which is just me being awake for too long. And it's not nearly as often, it's not nearly as intense. You know, I feel functional again. Fibromyalgia was like, it was like close to the tip of the iceberg as far as me having to leave the workforce. POTS ended up being the one thing that really kind of knocked me off there, but fibromyalgia was slowly inching me there, even if the POTS didn't happen. So, like I said, you know, it's really transformative because I didn't think I'd be able to do things like go for a walk for an hour and not be gasping for breath and not be in pain and not have that like costochondritis after effect where you have like chest pain and palpitations and all that. You know, I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to get to a point where I felt functional and independent. And similar to my RA flares, I started to get more depressed because the fibromyalgia actually for me was more limiting than my RA. I think it's because with RA, there's more treatments out there for it. So it's like really discouraging with fibro, even though they're doing research, you know, it takes time. So I say this because I feel functional again. I feel like I can take care of myself again. This isn't a one-time fluke because I've been able to maintain this for months. And I want to help other people with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis feel as great as I do right now. So if you guys are ready to take your life back from all of this stuff, ready to go and dim down that amplified pain that is preventable, you know, that's like adding on to the other pain that you already have from fibro or from RA, and same with fatigue. If you're ready to take the next step so you can start taking your life back, I want to talk to you. So I have some time set aside to connect with people. It would be a free call where you would connect with me either via phone or via Zoom, and we would come up with a plan together as far as what is the most important thing you need right now. Because let's be real, fibro and RA, they impact all of us differently. What's the most important thing that needs to change like right now for you to start feeling better and more functional? how we're going to go about that, and some steps that you can do to get you there, regardless of whether it's working together or not. So you have nothing to lose. And also, to get a jump start now, just in case, I also have a little free guide that I will also put the link in the description box and in a comment section. So that way, if you'd like to start jump starting something right now, like regardless of where you are financially, location, like no matter where you are, this is stuff you can do like immediately. You can go and check out that guide as well. So with that said, I want to hear your comments, your feedback, and your stories. You know, how are your flares with the fibromyalgia? And with that said, I will talk to you guys later in another video. Okay, bye.